write down all of the things that you think of with a job. And then I want you to write down all the things you think of with opportunity. Just all the words, all the phrases that you can think of. How are you coming on that? Is this pretty easy to do? Is it more challenging when you think of the comparisons? Let me share with you as we get this class going this morning, the reason why I wanted you to start with that exercise today. It's truly because what we have really set up in creating the Stronger Weekend for you is a whole glimpse into not only how super successful, high-achieving people think and do life and truly what their success filter looks like, but also really insight into the entrepreneur's mind. And entrepreneurs, and those of us with a very entrepreneurial spirit, tend to look at jobs and opportunities very, very differently. And so neither is right or wrong, good or bad. We're not putting things in boxes today. But one of the most important messages that we have for you this weekend is that you have the opportunity to choose. And because you have made such a wise decision in getting a starter kit, beginning a Mary Kay business, stepping up into leadership in a Mary Kay business, becoming a part of the executive leadership team in the Mary Kay business, you have opened the doors for yourself to have an unbelievable number of choices. Now, we know that in Mary Kay, the higher that you climb in the company, the more choices that are available for you. In fact, the new directors here, we share all the time that the day you become a sales director in Mary Kay, just a boatload of doors open for you instantly that day at 12:01 a.m. when you're debuting that did not open as a consultant. And as you become a top director in the company, a multitude of new doors open up. And additional doors open up when you're $1 million sales director. And then when you become a national sales director in the company, every door opens wide up for you. And so my main message for you this morning is the power of choosing, and that you have a choice. And in the choice that you make today about what you're doing in your present, it will clearly impact how your life is laid out and played out in the future. So I did some searching on Google, on Webster, and this is what I found that a job was described as. A job is described as a piece of work, a specific task done as part of the routine of one's occupation or for an agreed price. So when you have a job, you are paid what the job is worth. Not necessarily what you are worth, but you're paid what the job is worth. The definition also continued to be anything a person is expected or obliged to do. Duty, responsibility. Opportunity, on the other hand, was defined as a good position, chance, or prospect as for advancement or success. Opportunity is a good position, chance, or prospect as for advancement or success. It's a suitable situation or condition favorable for attaining a goal. An appropriate or favorable time in one's life. So it goes this way. Employees have jobs working for other people, generally on other people's hours, decision of pay, who they will work with, what the nature of the job will be, when they will have vacation, how much or how little that vacation will be, and someone else is making, generally speaking, in most employee situations, 99% of the decisions. But entrepreneurs have opportunities. Entrepreneurs are described as those who manage and organize any enterprise, often with initiative and risk. We're also described as those who are employers of productivity. How many of you are aware of a man named Jim Rohn, who's known as one of the greatest success experts really in America? Y'all heard the name Jim Rohn? Okay. Getting your hands on anything from Jim Rohn would be a great move to make. Any CDs, a lot of his pieces run through Success Magazine. You can purchase whole series that he's done. He was really one of the first in our country to really come with a major success message, kind of like a Napoleon Hill, if you will. And one of the things that Jim Rohn has said that I've always thought is so fascinating is at one time in his life, before he pursued his true dream of being an entrepreneur and being a success specialist, is he was working full-time, supporting his family in another job. So how many of you are currently working full-time or part-time in another job right now? And sales directors, how many of you have before? Raise your hands. So we're all familiar with that experience, are we not? And this is what Jim Rohn would say. And let me ask you, I remember this like it was yesterday when I was back at the university 15 years ago. I could be there physically, but I really wasn't there. Do any of you know what I'm talking about? Yes. When you have recognized the opportunity that's in front of you and you are passionate about Mary Kay and you know that this is the vehicle to reach the dreams that God has given you in your life, you might be there physically, but you're not really all there, right? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Jim Rohn experienced that very same thing when he was working full-time to support his family and really launching his dream, launching the career of his dream. And people would ask him that inevitable question that people always ask us when we're getting to know people. And they say, oh, what's your name? And then typically the next question is, what do you do? And this is what Jim Rohn would say. Well, let me share with you. I work on an hourly wage, and I draw a salary at a full-time job. But part-time, I'm working on my dream and building a fortune for my family. Would you like to hear my story? I'm going to say that one more time. I work for an hourly wage, drawing a salary in my current full-time job. But on a part-time basis, I'm pursuing my dream and building my fortune for my family. Would you like to hear my story? And he was often known to go on and say, you know, it's an interesting thing. This part-time thing pays me more than the full-time thing. And we just won a trip. And we just bought a boat. And we're getting ready to buy a new home next year. Just a part-time thing. I'm pursuing that dream and building my fortune for my family. Would you like to hear more about my story? I just posed that to you this morning because when people ask you what you do, or if I were to call in on your voicemail, or I were to look at your Facebook profile, would I see Mary Kay, first, as the dream that you're pursuing, would your business as an entrepreneur have the first mention on your voicemail? Or is it below, hiding underneath everything else? My background is that I come from a very entrepreneurial family. In fact, Roxanne and I, as we were up late last night, we were talking about being entrepreneurs. And I mean, I've been an entrepreneur my whole adult life except for about 6 months. And I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And of course, you know that Roxanne has been in Mary Kay for over 20 years. And she's had the joy of being an entrepreneur. And so we were talking about how much we love our lives with the choices that we have as entrepreneurs. Just the choices like on a daily basis. We can live and do whatever it is that we want to do with the people that we want to be with every single day. We don't wait for a vacation day to have a free day. Every day to us is like a free day because we have the freedom to make choices. And on some of those days, our choices are that we're working in our businesses. And on other days, our choices that we're with our family or we're traveling or we're doing something else. We talked about having the joy of setting our own paychecks and determining what we're worth, not what a position is worth. We talked about how much we've loved, absolutely loved, choosing the women that we will spend time with every single day, and how different it is when you're in a job assigned to work with other people. So when I look back at my life and I think about the family that I come from, on my father's side, nearly everyone owns their own business. And the original business of my great-grandfather started with a grocery store. So he came over on the boat from the Middle East and didn't even speak the American language and started a grocery store. And that was the kind of the rock business of the family. But so many other family members have been birthed out of that courage, have been birthed out of that entrepreneurial spirit, have been birthed with the desire that I want to do something of my own, that I get to chart my own course. And so I've always had that heavy influence in my life. And when Angela shared a little bit of my background last night as she was introducing me, you heard her share that my dream as a little girl was to be like the cover of the Baby Boom VCR tape. Now, some of you in the room remember that, and some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, and some of you are saying, what is a VCR tape? You know, the original machine where we stuck the big movies in, and that's what we watched. But the movie of Baby Boom is the story of a woman who was a big CEO of a company, but she felt like she wanted more in her life, and that what she wanted as something more was to have the joy of being a mother, and to be able to parent, and have that piece of her life as well. And so she tried to juggle and do it all and, you know, be able to make it work in corporate America. And the lesson of the story is it didn't. But she was able to start her own business. And so she went and got a little home in the country and started making baby food or something of her own. And she pursued her dream. And so she was living the dream of having a briefcase on one arm and a diaper bag in the other. And that was always the dream that I had in my heart. I didn't think I would go into the grocery business. That never really struck a chord with me. I really didn't have any idea what I would pursue. But I always felt like I would only be satisfied in working for myself. That was, of course, because at the grown-up table at Thanksgiving, I would hear the conversations of freedom and choice, and how the business had done, and what they were putting into place for this year, and what the blessings had been for the family, and where they were going to choose to travel that year, and all sorts of different kinds of perks and benefits and joys. Now, did I know that my father, in his early years, when he started his own company over 25 years ago, worked 20 hours a day for 5 years, slept on 5 hours of sleep a night, worked 20 hours a day for 5 years, before he made a dime of profit. I did know that because I was in the midst of experiencing that. I was watching that as he left a corporate position in sales, was super successful with Kraft Foods, top salesperson in the country for years, and left all of that to pursue his dream, which was to start his own business. And of course, he did that with my brother over 25 years ago. I saw what he invested but I also saw the life that he could give us. My dad never once missed a speech I gave in high school, a basketball game I played in, a tennis tournament that I was playing in, a track meet, a softball game. He could rearrange his life around the values and priorities that were most important to him. Now, would it have impacted me or hurt me if he wasn't at one of those games? No. But it was his choice that he was going to make it work to be present to everything that my brother and I did. I saw my uncle build a business from the ground up, fully deaf, and building one of the most successful grocery stores in all of South Dakota. And years ago, had the privilege of seeing a newspaper article that shared that he had given $250,000, wrote a check out to a children's home in western South Dakota for orphaned kids. Did I see him, though, in the early days in a small town in South Dakota when I was just this tall, and the grocery store was this big, more of a convenience store, and the hours he invested, and the passion he put into it, and what the family invested too. The kids were in the store too, and everybody was helping. I saw all of that. And then I saw everything that he was able to do for his family, for his children, and for the community, the difference that he was able to make. And I've also seen family members who didn't pursue their own businesses amidst having great talents. Talents that could have made incredible businesses. Like talents that I see now other people building businesses on and making millions and having the choices in their life that they want to have, and yet didn't make that choice, and choosing instead to go the route of corporate America and experiencing things like layoffs, experiencing things like corruption at high levels, where full retirement of millions of dollars was gone in one day because of a corrupt CEO. I've seen all of that in my family. I've seen both sides, you guys. And so I want to share with you that there's a great book out there that is called The Millionaire Next Door. And this is not a new book. This is an old book. It was written in the 90s. I read it right out of college when I was starting my business. And one of the fascinating things about the book from The Millionaire Next Door is the commonalities that you will find amongst millionaires. And you know, the incredible thing, you guys, that we all know about money, let's just be real clear about money, is that money is not the source of happiness. We all know that, right? But it is right up there. Like if you are burdened with a financial noose around your neck, the choices that you feel that you can make are so extremely limited. And it zaps so much of your energy, it zaps so much of your life right out from under you. And it just is such an uncomfortable place to be, where every decision you're making is a nickel here, $5 here, $10 there. It's so uncomfortable. And yet as a business owner in Mary Kay, you have the power to change all of that in your life, if that's a position that you're experiencing right now. Now, don't think that I've never been there, because when I started my business out of a one-bedroom apartment. In fact, I was in that one-bedroom apartment where I didn't have a fancy office. I didn't have anything fancy, where my desk for my Mary Kay business was 1 foot from my bed. It was not glamorous. We earned a Cadillac out of that office. So it's not where you start, it's where you finish that matters the most. So I have been there when I supported myself at 24 years old after leaving the university and going full-time in my business. And I didn't have Pete as a husband then. So I was fully supporting myself on Mary Kay. My parties put food on the table for me. My leadership checks helped me to develop a lifestyle in my life that I wanted to have. Was I glad to be in that position? I was so glad. Because just to be able to wake up every day and just choose what I was going to do and how my day was going to unfold and how I wanted my time to look, it was so different from clocking in and clocking out. You couldn't have paid me enough to stay in an environment where I was kept under the lid of someone else's expectations for my life. And the reality is, guys, we will never surpass the expectations that the most influential people have for us in our lives. Now that's great news in Mary Kay, because our expectations for you are limitless. Our expectations for you are that you are so strong, you are so bold, you are so courageous, you are so capable of anything and everything that you desire to have in your life. So we say, go shoot for the moon and the stars and the sun and all of it, and we will cheer you all the way to the top. But that wasn't the environment that I was in when I started my business. So I know where many of you are at today. Well, let me share with you, there are some commonalities in this book, The Millionaire Next Door, and the book is fascinating because it studies 1,000 true millionaires in America. True millionaires. So assets in the bank, not all just the fluffy stuff that you can see from the outside, but true assets in the bank, true millionaires, many of whom, my uncle being one of them, you would not look twice at him if he walked down this hallway. You would never, ever know that he is worth multi-millions of dollars. He's not flashy, none of that. And the book discloses all of those things. But here's a couple of things that they point out about commonalities of millionaires, is that the majority of millionaires in America came from challenge. They came from challenge. I came from challenge. When my parents divorced when I was 3 years old, it was a challenge. The challenge did not end for 15 years. When I was 18, was moving on to college, was able to say I'm no longer in the midst of all of this battling back and forth. So I know very much what challenge is like. My whole first part of my life was about challenge. But I'm so grateful for that because it taught me survival skills. It taught me how to dig deep in myself as a child and navigate and figure things out and push through before I would have ever had words to be able to describe how to do that. But we all know when we have life, you don't have to have words to describe it, you just do it. So how many of you in this room feel like you've had some challenge, or you're in the midst of some challenge, or there's been challenge, things that have pressed you, things that have made you really pull out your best? Here's another thing that they found that's common to millionaires in America, is that millionaires in America gained knowledge from experience. Knowledge from experience. You can go get an MBA in a university in America and never have 1 minute of experience of running a business. So I don't know how that's going to prepare someone to walk in and be in leadership in a company. I really don't. But in Mary Kay, we get a starter kit, we start building our business, and from moment one, it is knowledge based on experience. That's how millionaires gain their knowledge. From this experience to that experience to this experience to that experience. This weekend is a great example of the experiences that you're adding, not just to your life memory box and your Mary Kay scrapbook and your Facebook pictures, but this is a weekend of experience of gaining wisdom. It's an experience of leadership training. It's an experience in people skills. How about communication skills? You know, I was talking with a woman the other day, and she's in an industry where they invest in their own business as well, and she had an opportunity to go to a conference, and it was about the same time period as ours this weekend, maybe 4 or 5 hours longer, like a full 3 days, and she said it was $1,200 to attend. And yet I look at what we're able to do, whether it's a weekend like this, whether it's career conference, whether it's seminar, for pennies. And we sit at the feet of people who have taken a business from a box to millions and thousands of lives that have been impacted. I congratulate you on investing in the experience. Here's another commonality with millionaires, is they have a passion to build something from nothing. I will never forget, I was at one of my first success events as a consultant. The success event was held in an apartment clubhouse facility. So there was a beautiful lounge area, you know, with couches and coffee tables and sitting area, kind of like where we would do closing. Then there was a lovely little bar area where all the guests could line up and have their facials, and I was just taking it all in my first couple of meetings. And I remember my director had me come forward because I was the queen of sales, and I had never sold anything in my life before, but I love people. And so my belief is that you can sell anything that you believe in if you love people, and it sure helps if it's a great product. And we know we have them. But I stood forward and I remember saying, I just love just building this. And I didn't know how to put words to it. But I felt like when I got my starter kit, you guys, that it was like a box that opened up that was a box of possibilities. And I could take everything inside of there and I could build it to look like anything I wanted it to look. Millionaires love to build something from nothing. The other commonality that I will share with you is the study showed that millionaires are inspired to grow something. And not just anything. It has to be something that is significant. Millionaires have an imprint on our hearts. It's in our DNA. That what we do, what we invest in, what we put our time to, what we put our hands to, what we put our heart to, it has to be something that is going to have significance in the world. Do me a favor. If you were writing full notes, I'm going to have you underline. If you weren't and doing just abbreviations, I'm going to give you some key words that I just mentioned to you. Have these down in your notes. Challenge, experience, building, grow, and significant. Challenge, experience, building, grow, and significant. That is like a template for building your millions in Mary Kay. Let me take you back to when I was brand new, and there are 3 concepts that I want to share with you. Many of you who have trained with me before in a leadership setting know that this is something that I feel very strongly about. I've trained on it multiple times. It comes from a book written by a man named Daniel Pink, and the name of the book is called Drive. And Drive is all about the essence of human motivation. And so he features all these umpteen dozens of stories and studies that have been done to determine what is the true essence of inner motivation of people. Now let me ask you a question. How many of you love a round of applause, a pat on the back, getting to come forward? Raise your hands. Wonderful. How many of you love getting a prize from the company, a Star Consultant prize, getting a prize here, getting a recognition of something tangible, a free car, something tangible? Fantastic. Okay, those things are absolutely incredible and wonderful, just to give you an idea. But this is what the studies actually show, that in your innermost being, when you look at achieving a goal, achieving a vision, having something come to fruition in your life, what will make the most impact for you? Number 1 is autonomy. Autonomy is a very big word that just simply means you want to take something and make it your own. Rewind to when I was that new consultant, standing at the success meeting and saying to my director and sister consultants in the room, I am so excited to build something. I knew that with my Mary Kay, I had the best of both worlds because I could take the strength, the reputation, the power of a company and its already existing amazing people, and I could bring that in and then add my own little stamp and do what I wanted to do and create my own brand and my own look and be the Mary Kay to the world that I wanted to be. That's autonomy. The second motivator in the human spirit is mastery. You're going to hear a lot about mastery today because we've created a day today that is both filled with inspiration and stories and wisdom and insight and skill-based teaching and learning. Mastery is when you take something that you've never done before, like a skincare class, like a career chat, like leading a small event with your small team of people. And you learn how to do it from start to finish. You didn't know how to do it when you first started it, but through the process of learning, you figure it out. You master it. You get good at it. What I so want to remind you of is don't cheat yourself of the process to master. Don't cheat yourself of that process. It is a huge part of the process of success. You know, you've heard it said flippantly this way: there are no shortcuts to success. Mastery is taking what it is that you know you need to do, get to do. We get to do it as entrepreneurs. We get to do whatever we want. We're not going to tell you anything you got to do. You choose. We'll tell you what we know works, but you choose. Mastery is taking those things and getting good at the skills. I will tell you guys that in my journey in Mary Kay, I have taken at sometimes a year at a time to work on one thing. One year I realized my closing is not as strong as I want it to be or need it to be to have the results that I really want to experience and to get to where it is that I want to go. Well, I had two choices. I could keep thinking that and keep doing it the same way that I had been doing it, not really getting the results and not changing the things in myself that I needed to change. Or I could figure out how to change it, watch those who were doing a fabulous job with it, who had already mastered it, study it, practice it, and get good. Oh, I'm so glad that I did. Had I not, I wouldn't be a national sales director. Because closing is kind of a big deal in our business, right? Angela will share that with you today. How about developing a powerful I story so that when you step forward, you captivate people with your presence, your energy, your charisma. They can't wait for what you're going to unfold in that skincare class for them or at that guest event. Buffy's going to help you with that today. Mastering the skills. Professionals master skills. I'm so thankful that doctors don't wing it. I'm so thankful that attorneys study up on new tax law, and new this law, and new that law, and our accountants do that for us. They don't wing it. They're professionals. Mastery is key in your business. The third is purpose. And it speaks to the last statement of what I shared with you about the millionaires, is that we're inspired to grow something significant. It has been proven that in the human spirit, the greatest motivation is when you are serving a greater purpose. And that greater purpose is outside of yourself. I know not one entrepreneur in the whole entire world who has created or started anything that was all about themselves. Everything that's created and started is done so other people can benefit from that and have a piece of that or be a part of that, being a part of a greater purpose. We have a huge purpose in Mary Kay. It is huge. It is really and truly bigger, you guys, than anything that any one of us can really comprehend. Roxanne and I included, even as national sales directors. The purpose of this company, we are literally painting the globe pink. When you have traveled the world, as she and I have, and we have seen the destitution that people live in some of the countries where Mary Kay exists, and yet women have an opportunity like this to change their entire life, to break generational curses. It is unbelievable. And the same is happening in America. Our purpose is so significant. Not one thing that you do in your business is tiny. Even when you go to the appointment with a woman or two who don't end up buying a lot of product. I've had those before. And when we're self-focused, we walk out of that appointment and say, oh, please, how much time did I just spend here? What a waste of time. But when we're godly focused, when we're plugged into the greater purpose, we know that the Lord put us there for a reason. And sometimes it is just to be a voice in her life, a voice of strength, a voice of courage, someone who actually listens, somebody who actually cares, somebody who will actually take time to be a friend. And I promise you, in every one of those experiences that I have ever had where I didn't see an immediate return for my investment, it always came back to me. And that is simply because you can never outgive God. So I want to share with you in closing. I'm going to read this directly to you because this is from an incredible woman who pioneered the way for us in Mary Kay. And her name was Maxine Sandvig. Many of you directors know who Maxine is. She was a pioneer with our company. She built this company side by side with Mary Kay. She literally laid the bricks and put the mortar in. This was back in the day when people would say, what's Mary Kay? Who's Mary Kay? What are you even talking about? They did not even know we existed. She was one of the very original women to be a consultant, to be a sales director, and to be a national sales director. This is what she shared in her final farewell as a national sales director, going into her emeriti status as a retired national. She said, nothing is difficult when you have a cause that is greater than yourself. Nothing is difficult when you have a cause that is greater than yourself. Heart is what separates the good from the great. Heart is what separates the good from the great. It is feeling with someone, with her, not for her or on behalf of her. It is watching the marathoner and you ache with her because you are so in the race with her. She then talks about a season when all of the women as pioneers of the company had been building, laboring, tirelessly promoting Mary Kay, outworking their businesses, building teams, when they had nothing like 50 years of history and In Touch and all the support that we have today. And she said, when our success grew, our passion grew. You could see it in our eyes. You could hear it in our voices. Our dreams were coming true. When did that happen? When our commitment got deep enough to each other and to our cause. We believed we had no right to be mediocre. We had a connection for each other, for the women that we lead, for the families we're impacting, that it would be a tragedy that when God had given us, chosen us for this opportunity, for us to not take it and run with it to the very, very top. Those are words from one of our true great pioneers of Mary Kay. As you begin today with your heart open and excited about learning and experiencing and befriending and conversing, what I want to assure you is that you are a part of something that is a movement. It is a movement that is worldwide. Mary Kay and how we are painting America pink and we are painting the globe pink is an absolute movement. And so we invite you to be not just a little part, but a huge part of the movement that we have all been called to play a role in. Roxanne has come to be with us this morning to share some incredible wisdom and knowledge from her years in the business of developing something from nothing with the passion to grow something that would have eternal significance. And in becoming a national sales director, a cornerstone of Mary Kay into the entire future of the company and forever and ever and ever in history, that is exactly what she is leaving, is a legacy. Welcome this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Woo!